yes or no, would you be in favour of a move away to a stadium?
You've got on the special shirt there for the game.
And I just wonder, I worry if we lose this final on Sunday, our season just the players don't recover from that. He's got a real sort of easy on the eye, unique style about his play. It's almost Balearic. The way he moves is completely unique, and the balance he has, the speed he has, the strength he has, the intelligence. It's kind of all there. 56 years, but who's counting?
We have Ketch from FourFourTwo joining us here to preview Sunday's Carabao Cup final. Obviously, Liverpool have been in a few Carabao Cup finals recently, but Ketch, how excited are you for being back at Wembley and trying to end that trophy wait for Newcastle United?
Yeah, 56 years, but who's counting? We're really, really excited, but there's more of a sort of seriousness to it. It was a novelty. It was there last time. Now it's like we really want to go there and win. So the fan base are really, really excited, but it's almost like business head on. Let's get in there, get loud, and give the lads the best chance possible of ending this massive trophy drought, which we need to get that monkey off our back and win something.
Go on then, hand on heart, you must have been rubbing your hands the other night when that went to extra time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sort of fed into a lot of things we were sort of reading and hearing. I mean, you tell me. I'm seeing a lot of sort of Liverpool media and Liverpool fans saying maybe he could have rested against Southampton. Maybe he could have rotated a bit more. That player's looking a bit tired. This player's looking a bit tired. We're clutching at all these straws up in the northeast here. That is the case, and maybe he could have done that. That Southampton game especially. It's like could he have rested players? And I think emotionally that PSG game's taken a lot out of your squad. That's just from the outside looking in. That was two really tough legs, two really tough games. Even the first leg was sort of a big emotional one with the way it ended. And yeah, it was great to see. And inevitably when you're going that hard in such a high stakes game, you're gonna pick up injuries and niggles and cramps, and that's what we were seeing. And we've got our own issues, don't get us wrong, but Liverpool do look a bit battered and bruised physically and emotionally.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right about the whole. If anything, you get Southampton between the two legs against PSG, it should be one where you're heavily rotating. And obviously, PSG, they play in a different league. They're not going to lose that 16-point lead that they've got, but they rotated 8 players, we rotated 3, and it was the same ones that came in that came back out. People like, I think there's Gravenberch, people forget he's only 22 and he started every single Premier League game and he's started to look a little bit leggy and there is a little bit of a concern there. From our side of things. Obviously, one of the injuries was to Trent, and we've got Jarrell Kwanzaa more than likely starting then at right back for Liverpool. Who will be playing up against him then with Gordon suspended?
I think it'll be Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes is coming for a little bit of criticism from Newcastle supporters. I think there's a unfair, I think, view that he's an impact player. He can only do it off the bench when defenses are tired. He's a high energy player, very fast, likes to run at players. And if you're coming on and doing that at 70 minutes, maybe you've got a better chance than if you do it from the start of the game. And if you look at his goal record and his impact on games, is it coincidental that he's doing that at the end of games? Maybe, I don't know. But I think there's a player there. And I think he's a player that suits the Newcastle crowd. Newcastle crowds love flair players who are quick and direct and run at players. Over the years, Beardsley's, Janola's, Hatton Ben Arthur's, Gordon fits the mold as well. It's just a shame, that they play in the same position effectively. And Gordon's not too keen on going out onto the right. Barnes likes to stay on the left as well, even though they're both right-footed players. I do think Barnes will get the nod. And he had an okay game. I thought he was 7 out of 10 against West Ham on Monday, which was a poor quality game. Not a lot of players have played well, but I thought Barnes did well. He did about 70 minutes and got a bit more match fitness through his legs. He hasn't had a lot of games, so that's an interesting one. He's a dangerous player for me, and he's great at beating his man, and he's very direct. He loves to shoot. He loves to cross. The issue will be there's not been that much pitch time with the person who will be behind him, which I anticipate to be Tino Livramento, who's a right back playing left back. There's not much. There won't be much cohesion there. Likewise, how much has Barnes played with Isak and Murphy? Not a great deal. So that's an issue for me. But I still think that Barnes has quality, and that is a weak point for Liverpool. Clearly, if Trent's not making it, which it looks like he isn't.
You mentioned the West Ham game on Monday night. Obviously, you got the 3 points. Are you feeling like it's, a team in form, or, it's been a bit of a patchy one? Like I was looking in 2025, since the turn of the year, played nine, lost four, is it?
Yeah,
And a couple of
sounds
them
about
were
right.
sort of surprise defeats at home, Bournemouth, Fulham. So where are we with Newcastle this year? Like,
Yeah, not where I'd like us to be, and not certainly where we were in the middle of January, where we were flying and unbeaten in. I think we went sort of 10 unbeaten, and Isaac was scoring in every game.
yeah.
He was sort of you were looking at sort of Premier League consecutive goal records, Vardy's records, stuff like that, and then we played Bournemouth at home in the middle of January and got a real tonkin for, I think it was a 4-0, 4-1, and sort of haven't really recovered from that. So yeah, the form isn't there as much as I'd like it to be, but I think it was a big win on Monday. We needed that. We really did need that. It wasn't pretty, but we'll take that. And I think we sort of hold on to the fact that this team like the big occasion, like the big games. And a lot of players have played in big games, big Champions League games. So we're hoping that they can handle Sunday and do the job.
You mentioned Isaac there when he was on for like the consecutive Premier League goal scoring record. Obviously, he's a player who tentatively Liverpool are also being, claimed to have an interest in, let's say. How good is he? And how good can he be? And how confident are you that Newcastle will be able to keep him in the summer?
Yeah, he's brilliant. I do think he's the best in the world. We sort of at the games we're sort of looking at each other going, the best striker in the world right now is playing for our club. We haven't been able to say that for decades, and so we're enjoying saying that. And we love watching him play, and he's frightening. Really, he really is frightening, and he's got a real sort of easy on the eye, unique style about his play. It's almost Balearic. The way he moves is completely unique, and the balance he has, the speed he has, the strength he has, the intelligence. It's kind of all there. Um, he had a little bit of an issue with one-on-ones, sort of last season at the start of this season, where he was going through on goal and not taking his chances. He seems to have cleaned that up. He's really, he's such an exciting, brilliant player to watch. Can score from anywhere, as Liverpool found out at St James's Park before Christmas. And yeah, obviously when you play at that level, you play your games at that level. Questions are asked, what is his ceiling? And Eddie Howe's, he obviously say things like, "Oh, it's wherever he wants to go, and he can be whatever he wants to be." I think he can climb into that world class category if he just keeps scoring 20 plus goals in the Premier League. Um, and I think Newcastle really do need to offer him Champions League football to keep him. So that's the challenge. That's the onus is on the manager and the owners to try and make that happen with infrastructure and other, boosting the squad, which they haven't done for 3 windows. We haven't signed a first team player for 3 windows, and that's sort of that'll be on Isaac's mind. Um, and I think it'll be difficult to hold on to him. And I think if you're Isaac as well, I'd be sort of surprised if he wasn't interested in other other options. If Newcastle didn't get into the Champions League, you'd almost question if he wasn't thinking about that in the summer. If Newcastle don't qualify for the Champions League, his agent and the player himself, they're ambitious. He's of an age where he probably wants to go to the next level. So you kind of can't argue. Um, and Newcastle have never been a very good selling club. So if someone came in with a bid of 150 million pounds, I think the ownership would look very closely at that and have a difficult decision to make.
And speaking of number nines, like Liverpool have a real issue there. I mean, I would say that it's by far our biggest need this summer is to sign a proper number nine. Schlott has obviously tried Luis Diaz. Jota's got injury issues. Nunez is clearly not trusted by the manager. Federico Chiesa, I think, is hiding in somebody's basement back in Napoli or something. I don't know. But Isak for me would be, one of the most important signings if Liverpool could bring him in because he would be that sort of focal point that any team needs. And there's a real lack of number nines, just
Mm.
in general in Europe, especially at the moment. But talking of Liverpool's number nines or their options, as a Newcastle player, a Newcastle supporter, given your centre backs, which Liverpool forward, probably out of Jota and Nunez, do you think would be the one that would get the most joy, or the one that
Yeah,
you fan would be most like, oh, I'd rather Jota played than Nunez, or the other way around?
I mean, I want to say Nunez, but I'm getting flashbacks of that game last season at home where he came on and scored twice. God, that was a sickener, that one. But I'm not a fan of Nunez. I'm not a fan of him, and we nearly signed him. We were desperate for him, and looked great. Obviously, didn't he at Benfica? But I'm not having him. I'm not having him for Liverpool. I don't like. He turns the effort on and off, um, and he's just a bit. I don't know. He's a bit clumsy he's too clumsy to be classed as a high level forward. I think, and I think physical battle. I think our centre halves Dan Burn and Fabian Shaw would rather get stuck into Nunez than have Jota pulling them into midfield or getting them in a one-on-one situation. I think they'd rather go after Nunez.
The talk is obviously of St James's Park, new stadium, redevelopment. Obviously, Liverpool, the ownership, they made the decision to stay at Anfield, which is pretty much going against the trend. When you look at like Arsenal and now Man United going down that road as well, or at least their plans are. Whether they actually come to
Mm.
fruition, the providers with that, who knows? But what is your thoughts? What's the general fan base like? Would you rather stay and see what we've done and redevelop, or would you rather just move forwards or move on, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, I mean it changes. It changes all the time. So as season ticket holders, we were given a survey last season, and asked very specific questions about hospitality areas and um, what would you want, what drinks would you like to see, what food, and there was bigger. It was a big survey, and there was obviously big questions like, yes or no, would you be in favour of a move away to a stadium if it did X, Y, and Z? And I can't remember what I wrote because I change my mind all the time. So I go back and forth on this all the time. And actually watching your game through the week, that atmosphere, the European night at Anfield, the brilliant aerial shots of the stadium now, and it's really nicely sort of lit and it looks great from the outside. Obviously, a lot of infrastructure work's gone on there. You just that makes me think, maybe we could stay at St James's Park, but I think the problem they've got is an infrastructure problem at St James's Park. So it's hemmed in by roads and rail and listed buildings, and sort of the area I sit, which is called the Strawberry Corner. It's the corner nearest the Strawberry Pub. If you've ever been to St
Mm.
James's Park, it's sort of hemmed in. So you're like the concourse is very narrow and crowded, and it's difficult to get out and get a drink, and it's just a bit pokey. And I think you'd have to spend an awful lot of money getting that to a standard, and it still probably wouldn't be amazing. And you'd probably put 8, 10, 12,000 on, most of which would be corporate. So as a fan with a season ticket, already in, I could be selfish and say, oh, let's stay. I've got my season ticket. But other fans, I think we could satisfy a 60, 70,000 seater stadium, and it's all sort of ifs and buts. So like if they just the talk of it just moving it sort of northwest from the current plot, like a couple of 300, 400 meters, so the match day experience would stay the same.
Mm.
You'd go to the same pubs, of which there is masses to choose from in and around the current St James's Park. So it would be a different stadium, yes, but it would feel similar. You'd still be in the city centre. There would still be that sort of skyline effect, maybe even more. So I'm totally torn, and I think the current fan base. I think they did a survey. I think the survey came out about 70% wanted to stay at St James's Park about a year ago. That was the consensus. But speaking to a lot of fans at games that I go to, I think most people are coming around to the idea. So I think that number will go down year after year, especially when we see other clubs, you know, handling transfer market much better than us. Around like Brighton and Aston Villa are doing a much better business than us because they're selling better than us. Newcastle aren't selling very well, so we need to get our commercial income at a level where like yourselves and Tottenham are. So I think year after year, this isn't going to happen, in 18 months' time. They're talking about like 2031, 2032. I think Newcastle fans would come round to the idea, and St James Park gets older and tireder every year. The idea of a new stadium. I think we've also got extremely ambitious owners who do not do things by half. So part of me wants to see what £1.5 billion stadium, decorated in the style of Newcastle as a city looks like. Having been lucky to go to some of these big £1 billion stadiums, I'd love to see our own version of that. So I'm probably leaning towards move. But it's with a heavy heart.
It's interesting to get your perspective, also on like the Anfield thing. I mean, it's a little bit like an only fools and horses gag, like because the whole of Anfield has been redeveloped
Yeah.
since the oldest stand remaining is like the Centenary Stand 1992, but two stands have been done in the last 10 years, and then the Cop obviously was done in the mid 90s. But even the areas of the Cop and the old Centenary Stand, like yeah, the gantries, like you exactly say, the walkways, it's very tight. Like the facilities just aren't there for that modern fan experience now. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, it's hard to say because it's kind of like you yearn for that, and you go to places like Goodison, and it's kind of nice in many ways because it's like a throwback and how football should be. But then,
Mhm.
that's not going to be the future proofing of the football club? So,
And,
um,
and and it's hard because that atmosphere that Liverpool had, the European nights at Liverpool, you would lose that. You'd lose that if you left Anfield, but you haven't lost that. You've kept that. And there's not a lot of things in modern football that are unique to um, football clubs and cities. And Newcastle and Liverpool have that in Anfield and St James's Park.
yeah,
Tottenham Stadium is wonderful. I love going as a neutral, and it's dead easy to get around and looks great, and I can get a pint. But it feels like an American stadium. It doesn't feel like a football stadium to me. It feels more American than
yeah.
English. So they've lost a bit of something there. So the designers need to get it right, and they need to make it feel authentic, and they need to make it feel like Newcastle and take a piece of St James's Park within. That's very difficult to do in a modern stadium. Um, so yeah, it's a huge pressure on the powers that be.
You've got on the special shirt there for the game. Um, you'll be there yourself on Sunday. We always got to end one of these. What is your prediction? Will it go to extra time?
I haven't even
How
thought.
confident are you on a
Yeah.
scale of
Oh
one
my
to
god.
10?
Well, I was watching the penalties on Tuesday and Wednesday night, and it just occurred to me watching the Madrid penalties. Obviously, that's a huge stakes penalty shootout for those sets of fans, isn't it? You're right. You're right. And I just thought, if it goes to penalties on Sunday, I won't be able to handle it. I will not be able to handle it. Um, I haven't even thought about a prediction, to be honest. And I think the closer the game comes, the more sort of confident I'm feeling. And I'm like, yeah, we can. When the final was when you beat Tottenham, I was like, okay, well, it's Anfield and to Liverpool and at Wembley and Anfield South and all that. And I was like, and I think the closer we've got to the game, we're all speaking about tickets and arrangements, and I think that's the whole point of being a football fan is sort of believing that your team can do it, and we're clutching at all the available straws. A scrappy 1-0 win at West Ham on Monday and it'll do wonders for your confidence. And we're analysing limping Liverpool players, and hoping we can do it. And I think there is something about this team in terms of big games. Like we beat Arsenal comfortably over 2 legs. Arsenal are a good team. We've given Liverpool a couple of good games. There's no reason to say why we can't do it. I've no idea. I've actually no idea how the game will go. Newcastle aren't very good at the back, so we probably will concede. So we'll probably outscore you. So I don't know, a 3-2 or something. I would a 3-2 would be tremendous for Newcastle. We can score goals, but we do ship them. So maybe there's goals in this one.
3-2 on penalties would be my shot.
I'll
You know,
take.
Liverpool had two consecutive finals. Or was it three in the end with Chelsea? It all went to penalties.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was just
Oh
like
my God,
can't be doing with this
yeah,
anymore. Yeah.
I'm not ready for it.
Hopefully we get goals in normal time and nobody's put through the torture of penalty shootout. Thank you for joining us today. I'd say enjoy Sunday, but enjoy the day. Hopefully not the result.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.